you can make all this badass content online, you can talk on the mic and online and everything, but when someone actually meets you and you give a response, like a live response in front of them, and they can hear your tone of voice and everything, I feel like that's what helps you really start to develop that sense of human connection. And that's what community is all about.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. I've been on the flex since flex zone.
Everybody, we have Chasity Morales in the building.
Hello, hello.
You're getting married, right? Is your last name changing?
We've talked about that. It's kind of funny because this was actually my fiance's idea. He's like, maybe we should wait until, you know, we get the gyms and everything open before we change your name.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm like, we're not doing that. Like, I'm marrying you for a reason. Like, I'm totally taking your last name.
Yeah.
But he's looking at it from the marketing perspective because I've been known as Chasity Morales, obviously that's my name, and that's like the brand that I put together.
What's his last name?
Bolter. Yes.
Yeah, it's different. It's different.
It just sounds different.
Nobody else is gonna be named Chasity Bolter.
This is true. This is true.
You know, I don't hate it. You know, it's different. No.
But the ring to it, you know what I mean? I think that's where his head's at. So it's kind of funny. We were having that conversation, and I thought it was so funny because he has such a very analytical, very business-oriented mind.
Yeah.
So everything, even down to the details of like my last name, he's highly considered.
Let's talk about that. How did you meet him? Because when I first met you, and we'll backtrack that story. But when I first met you, you were single and training under a trainer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to put your business out there, but you might have started dating that trainer. You know, we don't say no names out here. But so how'd you meet this guy though?
It's a very romantic 2023 love story. I decided to download Hinge.
Okay, what is that? A dating app?
It is. So
I've
like
never been on a dating app. So.
And I had tried it prior, but it was I always looked at it as a little more overwhelming.
First off, hold up. I'm gonna say this respectfully.
Mm-hmm.
You are a beautiful woman. What do you do? What prompts a beautiful woman to get on a dating app in the first place?
Well, I appreciate you for saying that, but I'm also a very busy woman.
Yeah.
So like me going out and wanting to like meet people at bars or, you know, the fairy tale of meeting someone at a grocery store or church, like it was very hard for me to do that because my whole life was consumed with business and I constantly stayed busy.
Okay.
So my interests were always like get up super early, go to work, rinse, repeat almost 7 days a week. Right. So doing that doesn't really open me up to many opportunities to start meeting people organically. And friends kind of talked me into it. I'm not going to lie to you. And I looked at it and I'm like, man, do I want to, you know, put my zip code for San Antonio or Austin? And this is when I met him, I was more so on the fence on what I wanted to do next after I left F45, which we'll talk about. Right. But yeah, I just decided like, what the heck, let's try it. And I put it for Austin since I was there and I was highly considering on moving there as well. And I just decided to download it. And I was kind of swiping through and saw him and I was like, oh, he's cute and he's got a dog.
Okay.
He's over 6'2".
Did he have the dog in the profile picture?
Of course he did.
Oh, that boy is smart, brother. Real strategic.
She's an old little lady dog. And he's just, you know, we hung out and honestly, the conversation was really organic. Like we just kind of talked to each other like adults for one. And he was super open about things he was looking for. And I think that's a thing too. Like when you talk to people on dating apps, they're very open. Like I'm here to date. Like I'm not here or going out and meeting someone and trying to figure out what their intentions are and why they're out at this bar, what they're doing. Like, you know, there's no questioning to it. It was very open and organic. So I like that, very straightforward. So it made me feel very comfortable to be open-minded and be very like forward with what I wanted out of a relationship, which I've never had that come out to a point of, you know, previously before I started dating somebody. So it was interesting because it was like an interview. I'm not going to lie to you. But then when we hung out, like it was really nice. We had a really nice connection. We had a really cool first date. And then I spent like some more time with him. And lo and behold, I started spending every day with him. I started commuting over to Austin. And but
he's going to Austin every day?
Almost, yeah. Like legit. Like I was waking up. I train clients. So those start as early as 5 a.m. sometimes. And then I would still coach classes as well. And those would end around like 7 p.m. at times. So my days were really long and I would still make the effort to just drive an extra hour. I know. Who is
that boy got the juice. He's traveling. Okay.
I'm spending gas money.
All right. So let's backtrack. All right. Now, you know, I didn't even really want to get that personal, but I'm glad now I got the story, the context, and everything. So let's take it back. When I first met you, you just seemed very ambitious about your own results. I think you were playing football at the time. Uh, did you already have in mind that you wanted to do these F-45 things and all of that around that time, or when did that come about?
It's funny because my degree is in dentistry. Like I wanted to actually become a dentist.
Okay.
And when I fell into football, like I fell in love with football, and I did it, and it actually opened up a lot of doors for me. But I had always played sports, so my passion was always in exercise and everything. Right. And it was interesting as I wanted to progress and become a better athlete, I obviously had to learn more and practice more and do things like that. So it just kind of consumed my entire life. When I went to Australia, I actually saw F-45, and that's where it originated from. And I had never seen anything like it, and I didn't know what it was, but I tried it out a few times and absolutely loved it. And this was like the beginning stages of what it was becoming in Australia, but it was slowly working to transition into the US. So I was familiar because I actually went to the motherland of where it was created, and it was everywhere. It was like a lifestyle thing to do. But when I came back, they didn't have it, so I kind of forgot about it. And lo and behold, I was living in Austin at the time playing football, and it was my off season, and I'd heard they were opening up one that was like 45 minutes away from my house.
Okay.
And I made the commute because I really did like it that much. But I used it during my off season training. It was, for me, like it was a fun way to exercise outside of doing my my sports training or even just regular lifting. So I liked it. I liked the atmosphere and everything about it. But it was more like, I don't know. I looked into it and I fell in love with it so much that I was like, I really want to open one of these in San Antonio. I think it would do so well because I've never seen anything like that. And my intention after football was to come back home and either pursue dentistry or continue with training. So I was still trying to understand what that transition out of sports was going to be like. But when I fell into F-45, I was like, this is something I really want to be a part of because I know what it's going to become. I've seen what it could become, like what animal it's going to be in the U.S. because in Australia, it just completely took over every corner. Right. So I looked at it as an opportunity for my transition out of athletics.
Okay, so you got into F-45, and I remember F-45 blowing up, and it was like you were the face of it. You didn't just open one up. There was like 8 of them or something like that. 7? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so and then you left F-45. Are we not getting into that?
We can get into it if you want to.
I mean, you could give me whatever you want to talk about. Like, if you're uncomfortable, just let me know. I can edit it out. But so talk to me about your partnership with the F-45. Mm-hmm. What was the good? What was the bad?
There was so much good. I'll be honest with you. There wasn't. I don't want to say there was any bad. I think every part of that process, even down to COVID, every bit of it helped me progress into the entrepreneur that I feel like I'm becoming today. But it was a lot of learning curves, lots of failures, I'll be honest with you, lots of agreements and disagreements. That was my entire life. I loved F-45. I lived and breathed it. You saw me everywhere with it because I was 100% invested with financially and based on time. So like a lot of my time equity and everything was in that business. So I wanted it to be great, but I was also unaware of certain contracts and terms and things like that. So I think as I progressed with my partner group, we just started to have different values ultimately. And I was looking at the business in one way and they were looking at it in another way. And we had a conversation about me doing a full buyout. And I was like, at first I was kind of in a point where the business wasn't as successful as I was expecting it to be. And that happens when you open up a business. Right. You got to be ready for those types of things. But they were in a much different financial standing than I was, personally, because they had multiple other businesses that they were doing, but I was 100% invested into F-45. And once you hit that point where you feel like you've hit a ceiling and you're burnt out and all of my time, energy, and everything is here, and I don't feel like I'm getting my return on certain things, you start to kind of question a few things, and you start looking into separate things as well, and realize that you missed a couple of marks, and you probably should have paid more attention to the fine print. You know what I mean?
Yeah, learning lesson.
Absolutely. Yes. But we learned. I'll just say that. It was a big learning curve.
But that's what makes you a better entrepreneur, a better businesswoman, and everything in this business is those headaches that you take.
And sometimes you got to make, some losses, right? Yeah. I didn't want to leave the business. I really didn't. It was probably one of the hardest things. It was hard. It was a breakup. It was one of my biggest heartbreaks. I always say that. It really was, because when I left the business, I, again, went through that identity crisis because I put everything I had into that business. It was my entire life. I was the face of the growth and expansion of San Antonio. So after that, you're kind of like, what do I do now? Like, I was known for this. Like, now I have to start all over again. It's a very scary place to be. But ultimately, like, I was in a place where I just wanted to kind of slowly step away and not say a word to anybody because I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to sound like I just gave up on something because I had so many people relying on me. And I probably should have made some type of statement or, gave some type of thanks, because that's probably one of my biggest regrets. I just went completely silent. But it was because I was really hurt.
Yeah, there's a lot of emotion behind it, and you ain't got to tell everybody all your juice.
Yeah, it's just, I don't mind talking about it now. At first, it was a very hard conversation to have. But now I look at it as it was a point of growth for myself, because I think it was the best decision I could have made for myself at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And you were rocking the face of that F-45 hard. Anybody talk about that, everybody's like, oh, Chasity? I'd be all proud. Yeah, I know her. So,
I say the same thing about you. I was like, that's wrong with JT.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, so, but then, boom, you hit him with Sweat Saturday. I thought that was smart. Like, okay, she got her own little thing going, Sweat Saturday. I think I remember your first one. I was training people, and I see all these people pull up to the gym, and I'm like, oh, okay, they're here to see Chaz. Okay.
That was so fun. I mean, I just enjoyed group training. And as much as I love one-on-one training, I think it's been fun to get back into that. I have no matter what, group training is my number one. It's so much fun for me to do. It's a passion of mine. And I love developing communities. Like, that's what I did with F-45. And all those people I want to stay connected to in some type of way. There's no way I can train all those people one-on-one. Like, it's not going to happen. So thankfully, with Train Anytime, they had that studio space that I was just like, I'm going to post about doing a class. Like, I'm going to try to grab another trainer, see how it goes. Like, and ultimately just get back to what I have the most fun doing. And I didn't know I was going to have those types of turnouts. And as it kind of started to progress, I made some adjustments to what we had going on. And I just kind of kept doing it. And it started to develop some type of popularity. And then we built Sweat San Antonio. Which I thought was so cool, because it was like a fun way for me to get involved with the city. And it was just, again.
So who is involved with Sweat San Antonio?
So it's me and the down market. And I love the fact that, like, when we came up with this idea, we started off in a similar room like this. And I just kind of pitched how I wanted to try to amplify Sweat Saturdays. Yeah. And the owner of the down market is actually a good friend of mine.
What is the down market?
It's a marketing company per se, but they do help small businesses scale. They help the brand development. They do a lot of the graphic design, and they got a really cool little style to them. So it's like San Antonio's like social platform, essentially.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, on Instagram, I think we might even follow each other and all that, but I just didn't really understand what they were doing. But then I seen you on there, and I was like, well, they're doing that. I know what that is.
Yeah, they're heavily involved in the community, which is really cool. So, and I know that they've been wanting to do things like extended events, and fitness it's booming, which is great. Like, San Antonio is finally starting to
need it.
Right, it's catching on. But I love it with all the events, with trainers, like online trainers or one-on-one trainers starting to develop these events and collaborate and do certain things like that. I think it's creating this like community of training, you know what I mean? That's and fitness and lifestyle and developing resources that people may not in San Antonio they probably don't have as much of. But yeah, no, I started working with them, and it became one thing, and the first one we had just kind of blew up, which was very unexpected. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think I posted it 2 weeks before we had the event, and it just like boom, 100 people signed up. I was like, whoa, what the heck? Like, wait a minute.
That goes to show, though, that's like all your F-45 people really rock with you.
Yeah, it meant a lot. It really did. It really, really did.
So that's awesome. So fast forward to today, I see, on Instagram, I see you working out at some gym I ain't never seen before. And I'm like, where is this? And you're like, oh, I'm in Australia. Like what,
all random.
What is happening here? So talk to me about this place in Australia.
Yes, the Yard. Oh. Yeah. Man, you're gonna love it. I'm just saying, like, when I first like kind of stumbled upon this, and I didn't really stumble, right? Because the people that started the Yard were a part of F-45. The original one of the original creators, the founders of F-45, left the company when it went public, and he decided to do his own thing with his family, grow a family, and kind of invest in other things and whatever he's got going on in his own life. He decided to do all that, so he left F-45 a few years ago. Comes along Dan Bova, who is the founder of the Yard Gym, He left his partner group. He actually had a few F45 franchises throughout Sydney, left his partner group, same situation, and started his own thing. Took 2 years off to kind of just get back into training, redevelop, reestablish. And he created the yard. One location turned into multiple, and he actually ended up partnering with the original founder of F45 to turn it into what it is now, which is, working into being a global franchise. So what I love about this product is that I feel like it's tackled a lot of like areas that have been missed in the boutique fitness world and the franchise world. So the way that the workouts are kind of set up is there's actually 2 classes going on at the same time. It's 100% strength and conditioning, but you have a rig setup where it's going to be more compound movements, potential Olympic lifts, bodybuilder style approach to exercise. And then you have the conditioning side, which is turf, and it's like ergs and functional movements and more HIIT style approach, or EMOMs or AMRAPs and things like that. And it's all structured in the same way that we would kind of create a program for our clients, right? Consistency, progression, those types of things. But with having 2 classes going on at the same time, it allows the consumer to be able to develop a program specific for what they want. But also, like, you don't have to wait another day to lift or to do some cardio. You can walk in and choose whatever you want to choose for the day, or work with a coach to create a program for you just to follow. But you have that established format to where it works with anybody's schedule, really. So, but we do incorporate additional lifestyle things like Pilates. The run clubs will have a cold plunge sauna set up, so we're going to incorporate the mental wellness side of things. So they are 100% trying to develop stronger bodies, more resilience, community, that type of thing, but in a way where it's not so commercial or cookie cutter. Like, you're going in there and you have an established program, like something legitimate, right? So it creates an environment where you can genuinely get stronger, work on progression, and prevent hitting plateau.
Okay, that's really cool. I like that. Yeah. So it's kind of like a customized boot camp for you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But it's got a lot of style to it. I think the cool thing about it is, like, the owner and his wife own it, obviously.
Okay.
But his background is in the training, so he creates all the programming with him and his team. But she brings the style aspect to it. So how it's got like the matte black, like when you first walk in, it looks like you're walking into a legitimate spa. Like, it's real sexy. Okay. It's got like minimalistic stone. The apparel is really sick. It's very street, very like, what you call it? Like athleisure type, really good quality. So it's not just like a bunch of little graphic tees. It's more like cinched into like lifestyle, breakdance style, that type of stuff, like that, the baggy wear, you know what I mean, like whatever the kids call it nowadays. But you can see a bit of both of them in the product, but it looks like a place like you would want to walk into and like train, because it's so nice when you walk in. It's like the way everything is kind of set up. It's got that dark lighting. Like, they're definitely really strategic on how they have the lighting, because they know people want to take photos. They have a certain branding style that they want everyone across the board to have, which is really interesting to see. And that's why when I went to go visit and seeing what it's developed in Australia, which Australians got it down pat, man, they understand, which is crazy. But when I went, it was just like, this is a beautiful product, and it hasn't even tapped into what it could essentially become. And I think once the US opens and gets a hold of it and they start to really evolve into what they're about to become, I'm just really excited to be like one of the founding locations for it.
Okay, so do they have any of them in the US right now?
Only 2. So they did like a test run in San Diego. So I don't know if you saw that. I was in San Diego a few months ago. That's where Jason and I got engaged, actually. The day before we were signing with the yard.
Hey, let's go.
I was like, oh, he's committed. All right, let's do this.
Yeah.
But no, there's 2 in San Diego, which are really sick locations as well. One in Pacific Beach and another one in Normal Heights. And when they first opened, it was because they had a friend of a friend who introduced them to it when it was in Australia, because it's been in Australia for maybe 3 years now. They decided to buy into the product before it became a legitimate franchise. They just wanted to kind of more so borrow the name and test it out to see what it could become, because I think the ultimate plan was to eventually expand to the US, but they were trying to just more so test the market a little bit, and it became super successful. And then fast forwarding to now, literally in July, they're pretty much signing locations throughout the US left and right. So and a lot of them honestly are rebrands from F45, which is very, very interesting. But yeah, so I think with all that being said, I really ultimately believe like it's going to be something kind of new and revolutionary. It's going to add like that Equinox feel and everything that you would see when you walk into those types of places, mixed with like a really kick-ass program.
So where are you all going to open up at?
So right now we have 2 locations that will be opening up pretty simultaneously. Yeah. We pretty much are taking over the entire city, really. So we decided to 100% invest heavily into this product. We've signed for 4 locations throughout San Antonio, which I'm very excited about. First 2, one's going to be in the Alon Town Center, right next to Mirasol. You know that area, the Castle Hills. You know where that's at. Everybody knows Mirasol. It's going to be right next door. So retail space, and then this really amazing location we found on Jones and Broadway near the Elsewhere, El Camino, those places, like Midtown, you know, like right next to the Pro. All right. Yeah, so we're right next to that new restaurant, Nola. So that one is going to be sick. Like, I'm so excited because it's such a big, it's going to be beautiful. We're painting the whole building black, which is going to be cool because Nola's got like their whole little like vibe and artsy thing going on, and then you'll have like a matte black finished building on the side of it with the yard gym just kind of illuminated in a garage door. And we're going to make that one like our little flagship. It's going to be really pretty. Okay. You have like set dates, or is it, you know? Not yet. It's always tough. Construction and stuff. Exactly. And, you know, so we can't. Codes and stuff like that. Right now we are in the permitting process, which, I mean, as you know, like it's the one that takes the longest because it's not up to us, it's up to the city. But we have everything else laid out. The designs are set up, 3D designs have been made. You know, we have our equipment ordered, so there's no turning back now. Let's just put it that way. But right now, it's just the patience of once those permits are approved, we get the bids and we start building. Okay, so are you all able to do pre-sales yet, or how does it work? We can, you know, we just have to wait till our systems come in, and this is kind of the reason why, like, I started Sweat San Antonio. I'm not gonna lie to you. Mostly is to just maintain momentum. It's a fun way to do that. It's a fun way to do some guerrilla marketing as well. So when all this came about, I do have other gyms and, you know, fitness resources coming out, different trainers, whatever. But I always have my yard tent there. So people do constantly ask about it, especially since I'm more so the one on the mic. It gives us an ability, getting the names and things like that. Like we started a little newsletter where we let them know, like, hey, we're going to do a meet up here, we're going to do a run club here. So people who are directly in our network or who just want to stay connected on when founding memberships are going to drop dates, new locations, or events that we're having, they get added to our newsletter. So we kind of have some communication consistently with the community, and we immediately have a nice solid group of leads that we can start contacting as soon as we're able to launch our founding memberships and everything. Okay. Yeah. I love that. So if you could give anybody any business advice on how to create a community around the fitness side of things, how, you know, what would you tell them? I think the best decision I made was hosting free group workouts. I'm not going to lie, because people want to meet you, you know, and that's when they really start to develop a connection and build a relationship with you. You can make all this badass content online. You can talk on the mic online and everything. But when someone actually meets you and they get that connection with you, or hey, they've been a fan of yours for a long time and they finally get to meet you and tell them your story on how you impacted them and things like that, and you give a response, like a live response in front of them, and they can hear your tone of voice and everything, I feel like that's what helps you really start to develop that sense of human connection. And that's what community is all about. You go and want to be a part of a community because you believe in it, you love the people there, you have a good time when you're there, it makes you feel a certain type of way. It's 100% emotional, right? So being able to really create, or even just having like that one-on-one connection with somebody on a scale of like multiple people where you're just hosting workouts, you know what I mean, making them feel good, putting new people together, doing something fun, something that they can feel like they're a part of. I really feel like that's what, in my opinion, for someone who's like wanting to build that sense of community, start there. Even if 3 people start showing up, constantly do it, give your all, show your emotion and why you love what you do, and people can genuinely feel that energy. It's crazy. Like you know it. You get it from the people whenever you do your events too. You love doing your events because it helps you develop that connection with people. And that's what community is all about. So my biggest recommendation, whether it's an online trainer, whether it's somebody who's just getting into training, offer a free service, offer some of your time, because that's something that's like, in my opinion, like that's the most valuable thing that you can provide to anybody. So if you can provide some time and a service, you'll see that community start to grow because people will start really believing in you and what you provide. Because they've met you, they've experienced you and your experience, you know? Man, that's amazing. You know, what's funny is I've been in the game for a minute and I totally forgot my whole first year as a trainer. Every weekend I hosted free workouts at the Pearl, and I did that for a year straight, like straight up. And but now it's like ain't no more free, you know. But now I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'll get back into. You got a fan base, you know what I mean? Yeah, like, I got a fan base, but I'm thinking like just to reach a few more people, you know, I might just
do a little free freeze here and there, you know, just for fun to meet new people and everything. You know?
Yeah, and even creating like I've seen that you've done like some things where you have social events as well. That's a big deal, you know, because when people go to these things and they see value at the same time of networking, especially at fitness events. I love what you guys said the last time. Like you put a lot of like trainers and clients and people, just different people in the industry in one place. You start building these connections, then guess what? You get invited to this person's event, or you know, this person starts hitting you about certain things, or invites you to a podcast or whatever. You know what I mean? So even just like creating those initial network opportunities, I think is that's a huge impact on the fitness community. And trainers, clients, whatever the case may be, like all those things could essentially lead to resources that could really help people out. And if you are part of that impact, in my opinion, or you're part of that resource of putting somebody that in a better space for lifestyle or whatever the case may be that makes them feel happy or healthy or whatever, they remember that. It sticks with them. Like when you make a positive impact on somebody. So I really do like love the fact that more trainers are doing these events or these network meetups or whatever the case may be, because we're rebuilding that human connection that we lost in 2020.
You know, I actually went, so when they did social distancing in 2020, I purposely was like, I don't like nobody telling me what to do, so I'm going to do an event. You know, like I'm doing events anyway, and whoever show up, and like people would show up during COVID, you know.
Need people need people. We have to have, we need people.
We needed that. And I would like, you know, make sure to call up all these people every day and be like, get out of bed, you know, like, let's go work out, let's go do something, we'll go ride bikes and do whatever, man. I was outside all day, every day. I loved it.
Yes. No, same. Yeah. Like, I almost went stir crazy. And I even had like, man, I had the worst business during that time. A group training studio. Oh my gosh. It was like,
oh man, yeah.
It was hard, but you know what? People did still show up. Even though we had to do things in moderation, people still showed up. So no, I think that says a lot. Like as a trainer, like that's a part of our job is developing good human connection. But I like that on top of that, we're now starting to create resources and opportunities for other people. So I think it's really cool.
I love that. So you got the yard. Are you, you know, going back to what you've learned from F45, what is your deal with the yard? Is it like a franchise? You partnering with anyone, or this is all you? Like, what's going on with that?
It is a franchise.
Okay.
But I don't know, it's different this time around because I feel like since it is such a brand new franchise, I'm loving the fact that we have like a really good direct connection with the ownership. You know, like we're getting involved in a lot of different things. We're showing our interests. So, you know, we're getting a lot of attention. In the former franchise with F45, like it's not that we didn't get attention, you know, but it was like somebody kind of telling you what to do from a cubicle. It's very interactive, but it is still a franchise. So I'm investing in the franchise to pretty much have the name and to help them expand throughout the limits of Texas and things like that. So I don't know what possibilities that can open up. I mean, I don't think I want to stop at 4, I'll be honest with you. And if that does, because of the relationships that we're building, open up additional opportunities with the yard, like on a corporate level.
Dude, the opportunity you have, the fact that there's only 2 in America, I know you a little bit, and I feel like you are going to try to take up all America. So.
To take up all of America.
And I ain't mad at you, man. I might hop in on there with you with it, so on one of them or something,
Look,
you know.
I'm trying to create opportunities as well with this. And I already told you I think that this would be something that you would absolutely love.
Yeah.
And I think that with San Antonio being one of the first cities in Texas, like we're finally getting some love for something new and cool and exciting. Yeah. Yeah. Like,
you know who shouted you out? I don't know if it was you or not, but Adam, have you met him? He's the owner of Warhouse Gym.
Yeah, I know Adam.
Okay, so he did a TED talk at the gym the other day. It was super valuable. If that YouTube drops, you need to watch it.
I saw that he posted that. I did.
Yeah, it was the realest like entrepreneurial advice I've heard, and his story is amazing. But he said some great things about the yard gym, and so I don't know if it was you or something in San Diego or whatever. But he was like, he mentioned, because he was talking about entrepreneurship, and he's like, there's this really new concept about to open up. I think it might have been San Antonio, and he's like, it's called the Yard Gym, but we'll talk about that later. And I'm like, what? So maybe that was a low-key shout out for you. I don't know.
Maybe, because if he's from San Diego, like I know maybe he knows the owners over there, but I've met Adam. Adam's good people. I have a lot of respect for that dude because of the way I like what he's doing, obviously, because I'm gonna respect every gym owner. Like, it's not an easy job, especially to that level.
Yeah.
But he also builds his own
Oh,
equipment.
he is a high
That
functioning
is that. I've never seen anything like that ever.
Mhm.
And the stuff that he builds is just like it's different. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? But it makes sense.
Mhm.
You know, so like when I look at it, it's like if I was to look at that and I was walking into a gym, like a
Yeah.
basic gym, I'd be like, what is that?
No, I've,
Like,
I've never seen a gym owner go in there, build their own equipment.
Crazy.
And then he's also literally working on the gym, like building stuff, painting walls, all
I've
the
seen
things.
it.
Like,
I,
yeah.
That's a lot of respect for that. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie to you because I've never seen that before in my life.
Yeah,
And I'm
and
in a world of franchising, so I'm more of on the
Yeah.
investment side. But when you see somebody putting in like legitimate
Mhm.
blood, sweat, tears, time,
Yeah.
and like is in there building the equipment on top of that, it's like I've never seen anything like that. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's crazy because he talked about that. He talked about the drip feed. And he said, my drip feed is me showing you what I'm building as I'm building it
Mhm.
and putting it together, and you're getting to see it from start to finish, right?
Mhm.
So when it comes to marketing, you know,
Mhm.
what's your mindset on marketing? What is your approach on it?
My mindset is it's fairly I'll be honest with you, I'm still trying to figure a lot of that stuff out. I have a
Yeah.
lot of interest in it though.
Mhm.
Like for someone like myself,
So you're just like, I post, it gets thousands of views.
No,
you know?
I mean, I'm obviously trying to attract a certain niche, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
trying to establish myself as like, okay, I'm a pioneer in fitness. Like I would love to consider myself like a pioneer in fitness or someone
Oh,
who's tries to
100%.
stay
Yeah.
on top of their own health for mental reasons or whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
But even being like a female business owner, and then now I'm incorporating the fact that I'm a female business owner who's opening a business with my significant other,
Mhm.
which there's a big stigma behind that.
Oh, yeah.
But it's working, you know what I mean? And I'm, we're working to make it successful, but still ensuring like, hey, just got engaged. Like, we're still in this place where we still want to have like a lot of like the honeymoon phase. Like it's so much fun
Mhm.
being engaged, as you know.
Yeah.
But like we are still trying to incorporate the importance of being business partners. So I want to share those types of stories because I feel like in today's age, like it's so easy for people to open up businesses, but it's
Mhm.
hard for people to sustain successful businesses,
Yeah.
even in a place where you're doing it with a partner, right?
Yeah.
So I like telling the story behind it, also while adding some type of appeal to my
Yeah.
branding. But that's what really turned me on to the yard, is because when I saw their branding, that's the first thing I saw. And I was like,
Mhm.
I like this dark lighting. I like this intensity. I like that it has like this sexy atmosphere and like the close up like shots. Like I loved all the cinematography they were doing and like their branding.
Mhm.
And I was looking at what I was doing and I'm like, I want to be a part of that in some type of way. And now that I am,
Yeah.
I want to start transitioning a lot of my branding and marketing in that type of
Yeah.
style, because it only makes sense. Because I
Mhm.
want to really the same thing that I did with F45. Like, why would I change that? If I'm investing into it, I'm 100% going to be all about it. So I
Right.
want to not only have the same style, I want to rock the same clothes. I want to
Yeah, keep everything on brand.
100%.
100%.
100%. So I really do feel like that's, in my opinion, that's where like when I look at the marketing aspect of things,
Mhm.
and especially with social media, like understanding like the consistency of branding and then understanding like how like relevancy. But if you're a part of something, like don't try to alter and then make yourself kind of be a part of that, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And then when it comes down to even like the marketing with guerrilla marketing and developing leads and all that,
Yeah.
anytime I have a conversation with somebody, like I get their information. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
Whether it's a social media follow, whether it's something, because that's one interaction. And I always look at it from this perspective. Like you got to have a few interactions to actually make an impression on somebody,
Mhm.
whether it's face to face, whether
Yeah.
it's even like that person follows me, follow them back. There's another
Yeah.
interaction. You just gave them a follower.
Yeah.
Start liking some of their things. Be kind of more so relevant.
Mhm.
That person's then gonna potentially look at what I got going on
Yeah.
and be like, oh, she's got, what's this yard?
That's
thing?
your whole resume. right
100%,
there. Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
So, no, I mean, for my personal self, I'm still learning, and I have so much interest to learn so much more because I know how heavy and important marketing is.
Mhm.
But like I look at it from this perspective, like I'm in the rebranding phase, so I'm really just more so trying to readjust kind of
Yeah.
what I want my brand style to look like for myself and
Yeah.
integrate it with what I got
And
going on.
you
in
know,
my
I
business.
think all of that, what you're doing, and all of where you're going with it is pretty much your style of your drip feed. You know, you are
Yeah.
building this new business, also building your relationship with your man with it, and kind of documenting that process along the way. And I was really peeping game too, how everything was set up, like the camera angle. I was like, this is different. This is a different vibe, and you don't see that. Definitely not in San Antonio right now.
Mhm.
So I'm super excited for you. I'm excited for all the opportunities ahead that open up for you behind it. And yeah, let the people know where they can find you and everything. You know, are you on YouTube? All I know is Instagram, so I don't know what else you got.
I just started a YouTube, so yeah, this is another part of marketing.
What's the name of the YouTube?
It's called On Texas Turf. So like we want trying to incorporate some sense of the yard, because we definitely want to move into like, okay, let's document our entire process. So the first video that we have was legit our signing day with the yard and the SoFi Stadium. Actually, they put on this whole experience. It was like a full-on draft day. So in one day, I think 30 people signed for franchises in one sitting. So they got everybody throughout the entire U.S. in one room, draft style, calling out names, coming up, signing. You got like this sick-ass jersey that like the guy who creates the NFL jerseys actually made for the yard specifically. Wow. So they made this a whole experience, man, hats and everything. But I documented that entire process, and then we documented our whole process going to Australia. So you kind of follow a little bit of a story of like.
Is it posted already?
It's posted, yes.
Ooh,
and
I'm watching that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to put the link on here or something.
Yes, it's called On Texas Turf. But we're gonna, be doing things like this as well. So we'd love for you to be on our podcast next.
Oh, absolutely, man. I love this stuff.
But we want to document everything, because maybe it can help the next person coming in, or even somebody who's interested in potentially buying into the yard. Like watch it and just kind of see what the process was like, and how like, what we did, our story, and maybe it'll persuade somebody to help us grow the community. But we do have a YouTube, On Texas Turf, Instagram, and then our website is the Yard Gym San Antonio right now. And it's not you can get some information more about the yard on that, but you can also submit your name and email and everything, and you'll be a part of our newsletter. So that's where we get a little more transparent with everything, and we start talking to people a bit more. We share where we're going to be dropping certain locations, like certain like meetups that we're going to have for run clubs and things like that. So if anybody is interested in being a part of the community, they can kind of go on the site and tag onto the newsletter and kind of start joining certain things that we got going on.
All right, y'all. Chasity Morales. I don't know what her new name was, Bolter. Shout out to her and her business partner and fiance who couldn't be here today. And y'all make sure to go follow her. Yay. All right, appreciate you.